man, art and aesthetic with this movie is like top notch. Dare I say this is like peak anime gothic horror aesthetic.
I freaking love this one. I was a fan of the first one, the OG one, but it was just kind of
old.
It was dampened by those struggles of like the old animation.
This movie is kind of a horror movie, and it's also a love story at the same time.
I really love it, and Madhouse. Just looking at it, you could just see that has Madhouse written all over it. If you love Madhouse anime, you will love this as well.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap Podcast. We back with the crew, talking about all the anime, all the gaming, all the nerd culture, none of the bullshit. Let me introduce y'all to my incredible co-hosts. We've got One Punch Man and the Master of Combos, Devin Butts. What's poppin', Devin?
Pretty good, man. This week I've recently finished Mortal Kombat 1 story mode. Yeah, that was
congratulations.
It was a story mode. That's what I can say about it.
Devin just really doesn't like Mortal Kombat. Like the rest of the internet's like, oh, this game's fire. Devin's like, this shit trash. I don't know what y'all hyping it up for.
It was just a very stark difference from the rest of the game to the ending. I told Rakeem in the brainstorming idea, different. They was like every idea they was like, yes. Every idea they were just like throwing darts to the board like that, yes, we hit that, do it. Playing Liza P, finally got into that maybe like 2 or 3 hours in, enjoying it so far. Probably gonna be probably not my game of the year, but it's gonna probably be one of them. Okay. Definitely enjoying that. Making combo videos. That's pretty much it, man.
All right, we locked in on that. That's what's up. Yes, next up, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's popping, Rakeem?
Oh, another day, another dollar. I got to celebrate another birthday this week. It was nice to be another year older. I'm now 33 years old. Nothing too much this week. Besides that, I've been trying to get back into some anime. I got back into Jujutsu Kaisen, trying to catch up on that. I'm not all the way caught up yet. I still have several episodes, but I finished the prologue part of the arc, which was really interesting. It kind of gave the background for what the villain's motivations were. I liked it. It was a little rushed at the end for me. Because it felt like the tempo and the stakes were just right, and the ending was like, he the villain now. Like, oh, okay, dang, you can give me a little more. But yeah, other than that, I've been playing some games. I've been playing Mortal Kombat 1 as well. I'm still playing that basically all the time. But I've been getting back into Trails. I'm back on Trails of Cold Steel 4. Currently playing that. I'm back on Sea of Stars. Really enjoying Sea of Stars as well. Man, you talking about plot twists? Boy, that game got some plot twists for you. So yeah, those are kind of like the two main games I'm playing. Oh, I also got back into Baldur's Gate 3 this week. I've been playing that with friends on and off. I'm trying to get back in the net because me and my brother play that a lot. So now that I'm done with Final Fantasy 16, I can devote more time to Baldur's Gate. So I'm probably playing that a lot this weekend.
I'm actually gonna wind up buying Baldur's Gate, probably not this month, but maybe at the top of next month, just to see. I've heard so much good about it, and I'm like, all right, man, maybe I should just because it's at this point it's like the number 1 ranked game on Metacritic or OpenCritic. So if not number 1, like number 2, that's such an insane record to break. Like it jumped past all the Mario games, it broke past all the Nintendo hype to become like the number 1. I'm like, okay, well let me give it a look. Let me see what they're talking about.
I got one thing to say, and this is only for the Baldur's Gate fans who know. If you do get it, Sage, don't open that farmhouse door in that goblin camp. Don't do it.
I've
never be the same.
I've seen a little bit, so I kind of get what you're getting at there. Next up, we've got the Black Daredevil, the secret weapon of No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's going on, Terrence?
Yo, things have been okay. It's been a okay week for the most part. Don't really have much to say. Just ready to get into today's review. So yeah, let's just get right to it.
All right. And we've got the collector of collectors, the master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
Everything and everything. Honestly, at this point, I'm about to tell you to start calling me the master of Twitch because my upload speeds are telling me I can't master shit on Twitch. Um, yeah, my upload speeds are like horrendous at this moment right now. So no streams for until further notice. I'll just say that.
Damn.
Other than that, I've just been sitting back making videos. Finally starting my little review series on YouTube. Finna finally get that
I've been waiting for
on and
that.
popping. I'm finally getting that on and popping, and I'm doing a montage. So it's that, and I'm finishing Crystar finally after letting it off for like months and playing other stuff. So yeah, just a mix of everything to keep me busy.
Lastly, I'm Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. For me, I've been trying to get back in anime, wrapping up what was left of the summer anime. I was only following like 3-4 series. Don't make me count them, but like I think it's 4, and I think I'm just about done with all of them. And so I'm ready to start up the fall stuff. There's a lot of fall anime that came out. It's we're 7 days in, so now finally just about everything has gotten the first episode out, and I'll probably jump into that in the near future. I've started in place of Will. I've started streaming. I streamed like twice this past week. Meant to stream today. We'll probably stream tomorrow actually twice. More likely than not, I'll probably wind up going live twice. You'll find out why in just a second. But yeah, I've been playing through Trails to Azure. Towards the end of that game, pretty exciting. We're getting a lot of big reveals. It's interesting. Keen brought up Cold Steel 4 because there's a lot of parallels between Azure and Cold Steel 4. Like a lot of the questions and like some of the stuff that I know, but like I don't have the specifics, but like some of the stuff that I know kind of happens in Azure is wrapped up in Cold Steel 4, so that's kind of fun. It'll be exciting to get through and see it from this perspective finally, as opposed to like the opposite perspective where everything's ending up. This is like the build up. But yeah, if you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We're on YouTube for video fans, but if you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. We've also started game streaming, which is why I'll be streaming probably twice tomorrow. Sunday nights around 10 p.m. Central, you'll find me, Rakeem, Devin playing video games together. And once again, hopefully, me and the guys will be back playing a little bit more Lost Judgment. All right, it's the first week of October, and I know most of you fucking weirdos like plenty of creepy shit with your haunted houses and your fake skeletons and your weird, I don't know, child sacrifices and pumpkin spice lattes.
Yeah, you fucking weirdos.
That was pretty good, Terrence.
That's very nice. Joey Wheeler just come out of nowhere.
That was a great Joey Wheeler reference that speed bumped right over the fact that I just assumed that all of our viewers do child sacrifices.
I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh players do sacrifices. It's part of the game.
Yeah. If you got a baby dragon, if you sacrifice baby dragon, it's it,
Well done.
Well
done to both of you. So, we decided to get a little creepy ourselves and get into the 2005 film Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, based on the novels from Hideyuki Kikuchi, directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri. This is one of the rare times where like a great film is supposedly surpassed by a sequel. We'll get into that. We'll see if the film really does surpass the original. So let's just jump into it. Devin, what did you think of the film?
I freaking love this one. I was a fan of the first one, the OG one, but it was just kind of
old.
It was dampened by those struggles of like the old animation. it still had solid animation, but it was like the fight scenes. Some of the stuff was a little weird. The pacing was like all over the place. It was like that Dave Chappelle joke. It was like when it's like dude is explaining how someone's like, man, we was out there and the punching was out. It's like what happened?
It was me and the guy Dave, and Dave said this, and I punched him in the face, and he broke out.
Yeah, that's how the first one was. This one, the pacing was a lot better in this one. It was much more drawn out. They introduced new groups, this new bounty hunter group. So it wasn't just like D running up into the enemy territory and beating like all the bad guys in like 10 seconds, and then like we out, But yeah, again, the aesthetic. You guys know I'm one of the members of the podcast. I love like horror stuff and just all those types of things that are related to that. So this is just one of my types of wheelhouses in terms of anime. Animation is obviously a lot better. It's so much better, like leagues beyond the first.
I mean, the original creator, like the actual novelist, called the original film. He said it had a cheap look to it, so he kind of wanted another film. So
yeah, I mean, but I mean, obviously, it was just like part of the times as time progressed. These movies were like 20 or so. Well, the first one came out with like 80s,
85,
so like 15 years or so.
Yeah.
After
16 years. Yeah,
16 years. Okay.
This is 2000s, right? 2000, right? You said 2005,
Yeah.
but it's 2000, right, Sage? Or just making sure.
You're right. It is 2000.
Yeah, it's 2000.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just
Okay,
making sure.
yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So
All right.
about
2005.
Yeah, so just under 2 decades. So I mean, it makes sense that that it would look a lot better just with the advancement of technology. I mean, the fight scenes are a lot better. The new bounty group. The beginning kind of gave me like this Resident Evil vibe because like the vampires, they came out of this town. It was almost like zombies,
Yeah.
so to speak. And it had like the sound, just the way that it was shot. Kind of gave me this feeling of RE2, like at the beginning where all the zombies are like in the streets and stuff like that. Of course, D is just as cool and like, man of few words, just like he was in the first one. He walks up to the guy, he's like, "Hey, we gotta save my daughter, man." And so he's like, "Hey, man, how much you got? We got 10 million, make it 20." He's like, "All right, man." So he still got that cool factor. Like for anybody that just wants like a cool protagonist, he ain't really talking much. He's just like, "Look, I got a job to do. I'm gonna go do it. If you got the money, I'm gonna go do it for you." One of the scenes that stuck out to me was the scene where they go to that town and the bounty hunter group are there, and Layla, I think was how they pronounced it.
Yeah.
She goes in there and she's like, "Oh, I got something for him. I'm gonna go." She's gonna try to set him up with the sheriff, and D is looking for a horse. And the old guy's like, "Hey, man, 300,000." I'm like, "Oh, what? Is this like real currency? Because 300,000, would a horse cost 300,000 in real life? I don't think so." Like,
Whatever it was, D had it. D just
he had it.
on
He
the
just walked. He's like, "All right, bet." So
Well, it was a
sheriff,
mechanical horse, if I'm not mistaken, like a robot horse, if I'm not mistaken.
it was.
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe that's how those horses last so long.
Yeah, because the ones at the beginning, like they had like Cyclops' visor on. I'm like, what? These
them was vampire horses.
Oh yeah.
I guess to be fair, they did give him the townspeople. They gave him, what was it, 500,000? Because they gave him half a meal as like the advance, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was one of the scenes stuck out to me. The old guy's like pulls out like the BFG from Doom. Was like, "Hey, bro, you messing up my business. Like, I know you're the sheriff and all, but I need that money." So, but I mean, it was with a good cause because he said like, "This guy saved me." He's like, "I was one of the people that he saved like, years ago." Like this is it's a dark and gritty like movie, but there's like some very like I kind of like emotional pulls because like the whole thing with time. I'm gonna kind of skip around because the ending, like there's something that D and Layla kind of make a promise to each other, and at the end they show like this promise being made, and it's almost like, dang, like even what's his name, Meyer, he told Charlie's like, "Look, I don't want to give you this curse of being like, you don't know what it is to just not age." And like he's still alive, and this woman is like had a granddaughter, and it's like, bro, like this is kind of crazy. So it kind of has like this thing of like
implied, it's like hundreds of years have passed. Like, we know he's lived for hundreds of years because it's like the guy that he saved him when he was a kid. And that guy was like an old man by the time he was like, bro, you hadn't changed at all. And then like you look at the end of the film, and again, it's like somebody's grandchild. You like, whoa, man, and you still the same, look the same, ain't changed at all.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one thing you see a lot of times in movies and shows where somebody's like trying to get eternal life. I want to be immortal. And this movie kind of goes on like showing like maybe that's not the best thing. Like these people that have been like turned to vampires is kind of like a curse really, because it's like, okay, yeah, they're young forever, but it's like at what point does this kind of start to affect you? And D is one of those kind of characters, like you can kind of see him emotionally open up at the end because he even says to the hand, he's like, nobody's perfect. He's like, man, you was a little more emotional than you normally do. It's like, well, nobody's perfect. This movie also, I don't know why I was getting like mad Final Fantasy VIII vibes. Am I the only person that thought that mistress looked like Ultimisha? Like she was giving also Ultimisha vibes. Even the music they were playing.
You talking about Charlotte?
No, the mistress.
Camilla.
Camilla.
Camilla,
Oh. I guess I can see what you're getting at. Yeah.
The bosom just out. I'm like, okay, the music. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? She's illusions and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the movie, man. It was a good time. I did like the bounty hunter group. They had a pretty solid role in it. That was a little. I didn't think they were going to actually kind of flesh them out as much as they did because I mean, they showed how much they kind of like cared about each other. When Note got killed at first, they was super emotional about that. Even what's his name, Grove, the guy that I guess I don't know what his condition was really, but like guy that had like the little specter thing going on. Yeah, it was kind of rough because all of them died except for Layla at the end. So that was kind of like, I thought it was gonna be just guns blazing. We just all about action and fighting, but it was like, no, we gonna kind of humanize them, make them like real people, like they're out here fighting for a bounty, but at the same time, like they care about each other on this team. So I think that was cool to kind of introduce that. And like I said, the pacing was much better. If I had to give us a score, I'd probably say 8.5. It was really solid. I enjoyed this.
A really solid review. Rakeem, did you have something you wanted to say?
Did I? Oh, yes. I was like, if the viewers didn't realize that Devin really likes Final Fantasy VIII. He brings up Final Fantasy VIII specifically a lot. If he ever feels a reference to Final Fantasy VIII, he is always going to bring it up.
She just looked like Ultimisha, like that final fight. I'm like, what the heck? And in a castle too? And she had the illusions.
Rakeem did say the castle looked like a Final Fantasy castle.
Yeah, I will say I did get some Final Fantasy vibes in general for certain scenes, but I mean, Final Fantasy has influences also from other medias, so it kind of goes together.
Well, Yoshitaka Amano was definitely involved in like some of the illustrations, the original illustrations for D. So like, if the vibes feel similar, that's probably why. I will say they made a lot of changes because like it's like he said they made the Marcus brothers seem like they were kind of humanized and like seem like decent people, just kind of hard because they live in a hard world. And like the novel is not like that at all. They were like monsters, and in actuality, like the last one of them alive was like the main villain. Like Meyer Link was not the main villain at all. Well, he was never really the main villain. We get into that later. But like he wasn't even close to the main villain. Like he ends up getting killed by the brother. A lot of nonsense happens. Like there's some sus stuff happening. Let's just say Layla was not with them willingly. It was completely, they went way off and they was like, we're gonna do our own thing. Like, this novel's cool. We're gonna do our own thing. And I think it worked out for the best. Will, what did you think of the film?
Oh, I really actually enjoyed it. I turned it on while I was working today, and I was just like watching it in between. Like once I get done with the task, turn my eyes to the screen, and I'm not gonna lie, there is like a nice large step up from the animation of past. I really love it, and Madhouse. Just looking at it, you could just see that has Madhouse written all over it. That is Madhouse for real. If you love Madhouse anime, you will love this as well. I enjoyed a lot of those fight scenes, like Devin said. Those were like really well done. I actually really kind of like this whole thing between Charlotte and Meyer Link. I really did like that because the more I watched the film and the more I was like, oh, we need to go get him because she's missing. He didn't got her. We see that. But then they was like, when D confronted him, he was like, well, I didn't take her. She came of her own volition. I was like, that ain't what it looked like to me in the beginning. Like you came in there, picked her up, and took her out the window and said, come home. Like, I don't know. But as the story went on with him, I'm just like, oh, he really might not be the villain here. So something's it felt like something's a little taste missing there, aside from all these other little aspects that kind of come across. But I still think it's like a wonderful movie. Overall, fight scenes are great. I love the humanization of these characters. The Marcus tribe is pretty dope in their own little way. I just hate the way a big Note went out. I hate that. I truly do. He went out in the worst way by a whole shadow dancer.
Yeah, like, killed by evil Shikamaru.
I was thinking the same thing during the movie. I was like, he got killed by Shikamaru, bro. Stabbed his shadow, and that was it. And all you can do is be like, watch out for the shadow.
Now, was he talking about the shadows on the ground or the shadows from the RDC video game house? Because you might watch out for both of them.
Both of them with a blicky?
Hey.
Well, he had no blickies. He was worried about the shadows on the ground.
That's his problem. He should have had a blicky. He wouldn't have to worry about it.
Maybe. What would you give it, Will?
I give it like a 9. I definitely watched it again. I thought I had it on hand like I had the first movie. I didn't. I realized if I did have it, it would have been the steelbook cover.
Terrence. Well, actually, Rakeem, what did you think?
Okay, so I want to say first of all, what a surprisingly wholesome movie. A little bit this movie was kind of surprised me a little bit. This movie is kind of a horror movie and it's also a love story at the same time. So the big thing about this movie, I feel like it kind of plays with your expectations. Like it played with my expectations off the bat because when you watch the original Vampire Hunter D, like you guys have said previously, there's a lot more fleshing out of characters in this movie in context. Like you always expect D to come in. It starts off, hey man, we need you to come kill some vampires. Here's your money. Hey, I want double. Okay. D come in, wreck things, whatever. It really wasn't that. Like they really kind of showed this kind of chase between D and Meyerlink and trying to rescue this girl. And over time, as you're watching the story, you're noticing like there's something more to this story than what you've been told in the beginning. And one thing I will say is that in the beginning, when Meyerlink takes the girl from the house, I told Sage that wasn't his first time coming to that house. That was his first visit to that one.
Joking, but I mean, It turned out that wasn't his first time coming to that house.
They really liked each other. And I think he had been in that window a couple times before he came and snatched her up, and her daddy just didn't know about it. But yeah,
he knew, and that's what kind of made it so bad. Like,
he
sent him off.
Yeah. I wondered about that too, because she did say that. Did Dad tell you everything? And I'm like, no, he didn't.
No. So he knew the whole time, and he just didn't. He was just like, hey, I don't care nothing about none of that love, all that. Ain't no love between no vampire, no human. Bring that chick back, and if she a vampire, when you find her, kill her. So.
And you know what? That's kind of a good segue off of like the parallels that has to the movie. Like basically, this movie is showing how the love between these two different species just would not work because of the societal pressures they have. Like the love they have for each other was super strong. Like to the point Miley didn't even want to turn her. Like even though she wanted it, there wasn't no. This ain't. He said like, this ain't Twilight, bitch. I ain't finna turn you into that. You ain't finna turn into this.
Man.
There ain't no glitter at the end of this.
She said, I want everything you got. I said, God
she
damn.
She said, I want everything you got, man. On top of that,
that's hilarious.
I think one of my favorite scenes was when they're on the bridge. So there's this big, for audience, there's this big scene on the bridge where the bounty hunters cut them off. There's the family, the separate bounty hunter group outside of D has these different bounty hunters, and they corner the group on this carriage. And my favorite scene is like when they get out the buggy where they're inside and they take the girl, Marlon gets out and he's burning alive because he's a vampire and he's walking in daytime and he doesn't care. He loves the woman so much. He said, look, I will die for this woman to have her back with me. I was like, whoa, that's the moment I think in the movie when you know, like, what's going on. There's something's up with this. They like really care about each other. I also another thing I liked about this movie, and I told Sage this, it kind of felt almost like you combined Vampire Hunter D with Ninja Scroll because there's so many different like enemies and their powers are not explained at all, and there's still mysticism behind it. What'd you say?
You know why, right?
No, I don't.
Same director.
I was thinking the same thing.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's why. Okay. I don't know if any of you all noticed, but what's the villain from Ninja Scroll? Is it Genma?
Yeah.
If you look at him and the werewolf,
they
have the same face and everything.
I said that. I actually did say he looks a lot like the villain from Ninja Scroll. Like while I was watching it, and even like some of the weaponry and stuff was similar. Like, there's a lot of parallels now I think about it. But like how the powers of like these different groups, like you had the bounty hunters with their like normal kind of tech. Then you had the vampire dude had his own set of bounty hunters to protect him. And they had all these powers and mystic stuff, and there was this clash. And it made the movie very fun because you had a large group of characters with a variety of abilities going at each other.
So Raheem and I watched the sub version, but in the dub version, I understand that actually you find out he didn't hire those bodyguards.
Oh, well, that's right. They were like, not hired, but
Carmilla hired.
They were.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, cool. But that was like the fun part of the movie is like you had all these big, large battle between these different groups at different points. The separate bounty hunters, you had D, you had this villain group of like vampiric kind of monster kind of group kind of guys with their own powers, and it made the movie very fun to watch because it was just you never knew what you were gonna see next. Although the werewolf dude got hold, I was kind of surprised, but they didn't show it. He got killed like off screen. I was like, I don't know what was up with that.
The werewolf is the main villain in the novel.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, he's not actually a werewolf. He was like a parasite in the same way as Left Hand. In the same way as Left Hand.
Yeah.
And like Left Hand's
That
like
explains.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and so like
okay.
he eventually bonds with the main Marcus brother, and then they're the one that killed Meyerling. So that's how they handled that in the novel.
Well, that's completely different from what we saw here. But yeah, I will say the only thing I didn't like about this movie, well, I guess I wouldn't say I hated it. When they got to Carmela, the main villain at the end, the countess who was luring people there, man, that felt like that really was like the last minute kind of thing. Like, what? They're going to outer space? Well, like, yeah, come to my castle. Hey, all that stuff you heard about me, like literally only 5 minutes ago because they just explained what my character was. Oh, that's bullshit. Don't worry about that. I got you. Oh, we're going to go on this rocket out of space right quick. And then you see how our powers like this illusion. It was kind of cool. Our powers were based on illusions, and you see what you want to see, but it's kind of a twisted version of it and used to distract you. That was cool. You know, she didn't have enough time to develop. Like all of that was very rushed to the end.
But other than her up.
That's probably why.
She's not from the novel at all. The director was just like, oh, I need another villain. This all this dark shit, it ain't gonna work. And so he just made her from scratch.
Yeah, I wish they had hit her just a little bit earlier. But other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. Like, I think I'm kind of on the same wavelength as Devin. I enjoyed it more than watching the original. I had a lot of fun with it. The animation improvements do help, but I do feel like some of the characters are just more fleshed out. I mean, I'm not saying they're as useful. They still have buffoonery here and there, but nobody's perfect, as they said. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I'll give it about an 8.5 out of 10 too. That's about pretty much how I felt about it.
Oh, what's up?
Go ahead, Devin.
Rakeem actually chimed in on something that actually was my thought. The movie was paced a lot better, but the ending, that's what I will say. That's what was like. They kind of just was like, all right, let's do some stuff. And I will say I hated that DM Myers fight was just like 30 seconds. Although I get it, he wasn't really like the villain, but they still fought. But they did like
by the end, like that fight, there was just like no point. Like D really just was like, I gotta test you, but like I could tell you not really that horrible. So
yeah. But they did like the Mortal Kombat 1 wrist battle for like 30 seconds until they weapons and stuff got hot, and then they was like, all right, okay, let's end the movie. That was my only problem. I'm like, dang, I was kind of hoping to see like a little bit of a fight. Like, really, I don't think I was expecting him to be like some big fight then with D, and it was just like, nah.
I mean,
but he wasn't a real villain though, so that makes
sense.
sense.
He was not the real villain, and then the director, of course, made all this shit up. Like Meyerling dies at the hand of the werewolf parasite / Marcus brother. Like he dies at that guy's hand after finding out, like when they because the space stuff is in the novel. After you get to they get to the little spaceport. Well, it's not like a castle though; it's just a spaceport. They get to the spaceport and it's been ruined for centuries. Like there's nothing that the little hope that they had, it's gone. And so like they did all that shit. They did the whole journey for not a damn thing.
Is there any explanation of where they were going or what's up there?
I tell you what, let me Terrence, you go ahead and go, and then I'll explain all that part when
Vampire Heaven.
Okay, I get it. Okay, no sun.
I was thinking like I'll let Sage explain.
I was joking.
Like the background.
I was joking.
For me, I'll say I'll get all the pros out the way. For one, man, art and aesthetic with this movie is like top notch. Like this is, dare I say, I might upset some people with this, but dare I say this is like peak anime gothic horror aesthetic. Like it's just so man, I could watch this movie just for the art alone. Like the art is so well done. Especially when they get to the castle in the last third of the movie, you just see these shots, like the shot composition where there's just these shots of like the castles and like landscapes and everything, and it just looks amazing and just so well done. Like the character art is it's like they took the stuff from Ninja Scroll, like I said, same director, and they just turned it up to 11, and it looks even better than Ninja Scroll looked. Like, it just, man, I really like the way that this movie looked. I just found myself impressed with just every second of it in terms of just how well the characters were designed, how landscapes were designed. Just I totally loved it. And it's funny that you can draw so many parallels between like this movie and the Castlevania anime. And I'm sure that, you know, they probably got some influence from it just because, I mean, this is one of the most influential like vampire anime of all time. And you can see like the parallels there in terms of course, you have Carmilla, and it's funny that you say that she was added. That's unfortunate to hear that she was kind of just tossed into the movie. You can see it, but that's unfortunate to hear that she was just tossed into it. But because she does come up in Castlevania, you can see like the parallels with that.
Right.
Just the way it's funny looking at the Castlevania anime and how it, you know, has it looks prettier, quote unquote. This looks a little bit more gritty and like dark. Like this is like what I meant to say was like peak gothic dark fantasy in a sense. And some might say Berserk is more like that, but I feel like this takes it.
Berserk never looked this cool.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree. Maybe if the Berserk got a better adaptation, like a new adaptation, maybe so, not some CG garbage, but it doesn't seem like they want to do that. But anyway, I just really like the look of this film. That's like easily like probably the biggest standout for it. The music is very well done as well and very fitting, like especially in the third half where, well, the third part of the film where they get to like the castle and they have like these sweeping like like not violins but like the strings and like the organs, just the way that the music is just composed, it's just so well done and just fits every moment of the film. And I'll also say that it was just engaging throughout. Like once the film started and it got to the end, I was definitely engaged. It wasn't a point where I was like, all right, let's kind of like wrap this up, or this is kind of like droning on. It's like, no, I think it handled this runtime very well. I don't think that it needed to be any shorter or any longer. I think that it filled its time. It did what it needed to do. I'm glad that there wasn't like any unnecessary, more like adult content in a sense. You know how the first one, it had like random nudity that wasn't really
just
needed.
Pity out for no reason.
Yeah, and it also had like you know, the random love story between Dee and the main female character. I'm glad that they what's up?
I mean,
Charlotte and
they was clearly hinting at something between Dee and Layla. They just
well,
he just never went all the way with it.
I'll say that it felt like in the end, it felt more like they had a mutual respect for each other than it was like a full-on love thing. You know, could you say maybe there were some feelings there? Sure, but they didn't really carry out with it. You know, so which I think is totally fine. I mean, you had the love story going on with Charlotte and Minor Link, which I thought was fine. But yeah, we didn't need anything else between the two of them to kind of like make things even muddier. Now, all that being said, like those are some strong pros. The cons for me, I agree with you all that the last third of this movie, it is definitely the weakest part of the movie, just because stuff kind of just starts happening and it just feels like we just kind of like rushed it. Like especially with Carmilla, how she just is introduced and just kind of tossed in there as the final villain, and it's like, wait, how do we get to this point? It kind of threw me off when we had that scene where it was an illusion, obviously, but where Dee and Minor Link were in the hallway and Dee had taken Charlotte, and like that threw me off at first because I was like, wait, did he just kill him? Like, was that what? Yeah. It really threw me off at first. I was like, he just killed him, and was she really under his control or something like that? Is that the twist? And
no, it's all a genjutsu.
Yeah, and then the whole twist was that it was just an illusion, and then everybody else started falling under illusion. It's like, oh, okay. I started to piece it together as things went on, but at first it really threw me off because I was like,
it's very jarring.
Yeah, it was very jarring just because we hadn't had anything like that happen up until this point. So, but once I caught on, it was fine. But when it started, I was like, whoa. It just threw me off. That's all. and I guess another thing I'll say is that there were some things that were definitely unexplained. Now, I'm not saying that everything has to be explained in a movie. Sometimes you're better off just kind of like letting it slide. Yet we don't need like a bunch of exposition for every little thing. But like for one thing, with Grove and his powers, like I didn't understand what he was until like I read more on the internet. Like I saw that he's a psychic. And it's like, okay, that's what he was. Because just in comparison to all the other bounty hunters, no one else had a power like that. So for him to just have that, it felt kind of weird. What's up, Will?
Yes, I really agree with you on Grove, because I couldn't understand. Like he's like, I'm looking at him like, this is a sickly, frail man. But then once they started hooking him up to stuff, I'm like, okay, they trying to keep him alive. But then he presented this needle, stuck him with it, and then as they went through like the Barbarois like people, and all of a sudden stuff started going left. All of a sudden you just see a spirit just come floating by, just dropping lasers on left or right, and you're just like, who is that? And then you see him, he's just happy and shooting. I'm just like, oh,
it's like astral projection.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, like an astral projection kind of thing.
I was about to say that part almost reminded me of Gungrave, where like how Grave has to get hooked up all this stuff and get he got wear his suit or whatever before he goes out and shit. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Except it's not really astral projection, but I kind of like that.
Yeah, it also just begs the question, like, what were they injecting him with? Like, what was his condition? Which the condition, I can kind of get over that, just because we don't necessarily need the background on that. But
they made that part up, not the whole thing. Weirdly, again in the novel, instead of injecting him with drugs, they would force him to have seizures. And when he had seizures, he would like create this astral form of himself, and that would be able to kill things. And also, apparently, in the novel, I think it's implied that his physical body died, but he's still alive, just stuck in that energy form.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I read too that the seizures like take a piece of his life each time he had one. So each time he had one, he was losing a piece of his life. So if he had a set amount of seizures, I guess that would be the end of him. I don't know, but
Well, that's interesting. I have a feeling that there's just a lot from the novel that like just certain pieces there's just certain pieces in this movie that, well, now that I know the novel is completely different, maybe you're not necessarily better off reading it. But I had a feeling that there's a lot more detail in the novel that they just left out on this movie just to kind of like keep it a bit more concise. And yeah, the other thing was, the love story with Charlotte and Minor Link. While I didn't necessarily had a problem with it, it kind of begs the question as to like how long they had been seeing each other. Like, how long has this been going on?
It definitely didn't just happen.
They kind of when they got to the whole part where she's like, I'm not being forced or anything like that, it's like there wasn't it didn't really, they kind of play that up as like some kind of twist in a sense, but it's like we weren't really set up for that. Like, we didn't know anything about you all prior to the start of the movie. He just came in, just snatched her, and that was it.
I guess you go operating off the assumption like that's why you think she's been forced, is because he just kind of showed up in the middle of the night, snatched her up, and that's what vampires are known for. And so you just like, oh, okay, well, he's just another
like, is he under her, is she under his control or something like that,
right.
Which I can see. That's why I don't necessarily have a big problem with it, but it's just one of those things where a little bit more set up for it maybe would have been nice, or like fleshed it out a little bit more. Just so that we can have that connection with them. And once again, to draw parallels to Castlevania, it's very interesting to see Minor and Charlotte's relationship in comparison to like Dracula and the woman that he was with in the anime. And in the anime, they really humanize Dracula, because you see it like how torn up he is from how the villagers just killed his wife, and how it just pains him to just continue to exist without her. And in some ways they kind of do the same thing with this movie, but of course, because it's a movie, they can't flesh it out in the same way as you would with a anime series, just because there's more time. So, but overall, I really enjoy the art, the aesthetic of this movie, the music, is very engaging. It's just that that latter third is kind of muddy, and there's just some things that could have been fleshed out more. Like, and I guess one more thing. It's weird how some parts it feels like they just kind of like skip over it. I know you all mentioned the werewolf fight. That really disappointed me, because they literally cut from like one thing And then to the next scene, he was like dissected or bisected, whatever. And
he ran into
bisected.
D. Like, I guess they were like, look, you at this point, you know what it is. You run into D, you die. And so, like, he ran into D, is like, all right, we ain't got time for that. Whoop, and then moved on to the next.
It's a shame because he was one of the cooler looking creatures. Like, the whole mouth thing that he had going on with his stomach, I was like, I wanted to see more of him. Like, I thought that he would have been the one to, like, put up the greatest fight. And so for him to just go down like that is like...
I mean, you are correct, because in the novel, that's what happened.
Yeah, that was very disappointing for me, just because I wanted to see more of him. But, huh?
I said we did see more of him, Terrence. He was sliced in two, so we saw double of him.
Ha 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 ha.
It was so jarring, like for like a split second. I was like, did we skip? Did the version I'm watching, they skip?
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I literally thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, maybe the version that I'm watching, they like skip this part. And so I checked another one just to be sure. I was like, no, this is the way that's supposed to go. So I was like, well, damn, that sucks.
Get out of here.
All that aside, I guess in terms of a score, I think I'd give it an 8. I give it a strong 8. It's just that latter third just kind of drags it down a little bit. And there's some other things in the movie that I feel like could have been cleaned up a little bit better. But man, I would totally rewatch the film just for the art alone. Like, it's just an amazing looking film, and definitely like one of the peak examples of just how well art can be done in anime and how it's like no other medium. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay. The only thing I can tell you as far as like the setting, fuck it, let's just get into it. Let me just this is in general a solid film. It's not nearly as, again, just like the last time, it's not nearly as scary as I thought it would be. It's got a lot of horror and gothic themes to it. The horror and gothic like visuals, of course, as Terrence talked about in detail, like they on point. But the film is like not really like scary. Like I thought we was gonna be doing a scary film. I was like, man, this shit ain't scary. It's more. It's got like more horror like vibes, but like that's it. It's just vibes. In all, like real quick, I'll just go ahead and say I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. But as far as the universe, Vampire Hunter D is a universe where they just throw shit at the wall. Like an entire society is shapeshifting ninja. Sure, why not? A dude who shoots up drugs to turn into Negative Man from Doom Patrol? Go for it. A giant, creepy JRPG castle hiding a spaceship because vampires just go to fucking space whenever they want? Look, motherfucker, by now, you should know what it is. We doing whatever. It's a setting that operates off of rule of cool, and this is not just something the movie does. The novels do it. Like, I did a lot of reading about the novels and, like, TV tropes. Like, apparently at one point, the vampires went out into space and fought aliens and ran up against like different kinds of alien species and did battles with them. And like this universe's Dracula can literally alter reality. And D's hiding the vast majority of his power, like which you can kind of tell in both this movie and the last one. Like every time a noble really presses in me, like, all right, look, I gotta let that real shit out, and he just squash whoever he's fighting. But like for the most part, like yeah, all these characters, like it's absurd. It just operates off of rule of cool, but it's tied together by some slick ass madhouse animation and one of the coolest, most stoic type characters in fiction. Like, I'm not even sure someone like D works in the modern era. Like, he's the apex of being a stoic type character. He's so cool. It's almost like a borderline Mary Sue. Like, he don't talk. He just show up, hand out work, and then just dip out. You know, like he's just, oh yeah, you know, he's like his dialogue, like if you counted the number of lines he had in the movie, it would not be high. Like that, it would not surprise me if multiple supporting characters had way more lines of dialogue than he did. Because he's just not about all that talking. He just about action and getting paid. The movie itself is just kind of a wild ride. It just keeps this nonstop pace of taking viewers from location to location. I want to say that every location is stranger than the last, but that's not quite true. Because you do go to that human village for a little bit, and quite frankly, the start is like the Meyerlink's castle, and Meyerlink's castle is like this weird reality bending tesseract almost. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And you know that like I don't think it ever quite until the end of the film. I don't think it ever quite gets as weird as that. But they're all still memorable settings. That's one thing this movie just nails from jump. My big flaw in it, in contrast to y'all, is I just don't know how any of the other hunters survive in this world. Like they just seem to be kind of incompetent to me. Like the only one that's actually useful is D. Like the Marcus brothers have a reputation for killing nobles, but like we never see it. They just say it. And so since we never see it, it just feels like they ran into the Barbarois and only 2 of them survived that encounter. Like they ran into a couple of like them real, I guess, bounty hunter or guardians, like, like actual guardians for the vampires. And ran into like a couple of them, and then I was like, yeah, that's it for us, bro. 2 of them survived that encounter, and none of them were ready for the actual noble. And that's kind of the flaw that I would say. Like this world is so focused on D that if you think too hard about any other character, it kind of is like, oh, how does this work? Like what the fuck is going on around here? Like
it's almost like the Goku problem.
It's very much the Goku problem, but at least in that, there's only one threat. Like as far as we know, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of vampires. I asked Keem at one point, like at the end of the film, I was like, well, okay, hold on. I gotta ask, like this man, he been alive for hundreds of years. Are they making new nobles? Because if they're not, and clearly he's not dying, and he won't stop hunting them. So after a while, you gotta be and killed all the motherfuckers. Like you going through them, and it's not taking him a particularly long time to do it either. He just going through, and within like a week or 2, he like, yep, that's another noble down. Like, hey man, if you alive, if you are ageless, and he is, it shouldn't, like after a while, you should just wipe them all out. But I mean, like it is a great movie, especially when you get to the twist and you realize, unlike the last film, like Rakeem said, this is more of a tragic love story compared to like, what was it, Count Magnus, I think was the villain of the last film.
Yeah.
Meyerlink is just a vampire in love with a human woman. Like he's not looking down on her. He's not like, oh yeah, another one to add to the collection. Like it ain't none of that. Like he don't, I just need one. I need one more to fill out the starting roster. That's what Magnus was like. This dude, he like, no, I'm in love. I'm so in love. I'm willing to set myself on fire for this woman. I'm like, God, they're like, brother, like if the people you hired, and then you find out later he didn't hire them, but like if the people you hired ain't enough to handle it, like, hey man, what you want me to do? Like, that's the one weakness we got, which is not true. That's another thing that I did a little background research before the show. Come to find out, like the sign of the cross, which is everywhere, but utterly pointless. It's completely the opposite in the novels. Like the sign of the cross is so powerful that the vampires basically bred the knowledge out of their mind, of humanity's minds, to the point that sometimes people will say, make a sign with the cross, and they've done it and don't remember what they did. Like the brain just kind of.
That's interesting.
Don't worry
like,
about it.
I know in the beginning of the movie, like all the crosses were like starting to bend and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Bending. Like I was listening to like a dude. I was listening to Bonsai Pop talk about it, and he was like, if there were that, first off, there could not be that many crosses because humanity's not allowed to know about them. If there were that many crosses in one area, a vampire wouldn't go anywhere near that shit. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes more sense, because at some point it's like, what's the point of having all this shit if it ain't gonna do nothing? Like it's just a symbol just for the sake of being like, oh, I don't care about this shit. I'm a vampire. I do what I want. It's like, I guess, brother. But yeah, like even like, as far as like Meyerlink goes, like midway through the film, me and Keem kind of looked, it was like, is this dude evil? And then very quickly it was like, nah, he's not evil. And even D was like, I don't think this dude evil. So let me get paid and let me get up on out of here. Like he took that ring just to get that, just to like got proof, like, okay, she didn't make it, and give me my money. And that was it. But it did show that even in a world like this, nothing is black and white. Even Layla, by the end of the film, despite how much hatred she had for vampires, like she lost her entire world on one mission that lasted barely a couple of days. She lost everything, everybody she had worked with for years. And even her, it's like she was just like so tired of the bloodshed and the violence that like when Meyerlink gets on that spaceship, she looks up and she's just like, hey man, please don't let this she's like, please. Like somebody ought to live out of this. Like everybody else fucking died. Like it's gotta be some type of happy ending, which the novel, and I mean like that scene kind of, I like that scene because it showed how much she had changed. Because in the novel, it's just like Meyerlink dies, Charlotte dies, the Marcus brothers are all horrible people, so they die, and you like, okay, cool. And Layla and Dee are the only people that survive, but it's kind of like a bittersweet, not even bittersweet, it's just a downer ending. Like you watch it, you like, oh man, or you read it, you like, oh, this is kind of depressing. This is more like bittersweet because you do see a lot of death, but it is like he does go out into space and it's just like, all right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to space. I think they have like a city on the moon. They talked about that, like a city of eternal night.
Yeah.
And so like
that's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically where he went. Just gonna chill out on the moon. I don't even know if vampires need to breathe.
That's one of the first things I thought about. I was like, I guess they can breathe in space.
Do they need to breathe?
That's a good question. Do they need to breathe?
They may not need to breathe. So, but yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. It's not going to be in like one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it just for like the craftsmanship of it. Madhouse was in a bag on this one, like Terrence said, like the art is just fucking gorgeous. It is like there's so many times in the film where there's like this panning shot and they was like, yeah, we cooked, didn't we? We was up in there cooking. You see it? You see what we did? Yeah, that was us. Like you could tell, like they knew how good of a job they did. So it was just like, all right, I fuck with it on that level. Like it's just, yeah, I fucks with it on that level. So it's not something that I'm going to like go back and rewatch like I would a Macross, which I've watched I think twice again since we did a review of it. It's not something that I would go back and rewatch, but it is something that you just have to appreciate the sheer craftsmanship of it. One last question. What's up, Devin?
I want to say something that you chimed on, Sage, that I thought about too. And I was like, are y'all in the same universe? You talked about how it seemed like D was the only relevant person, how you felt like the other bounty hunters really wouldn't survive. And I do agree to a point. I do feel like that bounty hunter group, they were fairly competent. Like they knew what they were doing. Like Cal.
Look, they did out against them lower level vampires.
Yeah.
And they
killed that shadow dude.
They did. I was finna say, like, if you think about like, okay, they finally ran into like some evenly matched type people. If it was a series and I had seen them beat a few people, it's kind of like wrestling a little bit. Like if I had seen you beat a couple of people first, and then finally you just ran into like a top of the card guy, it's like, hey man, this wasn't enough for that top of the card guy. Like, what you want me to say? Yeah. Like he was a real draw. I just had nothing for him. Like if I had seen more of that, I probably would have more to it. But then that, like, the only time they said they killed like 10 nobles, and I'm like, it made me think like y'all probably didn't beat them straight up. You probably just outthought them. Maybe set their place on fire or some shit, or like set a trap that fucked them up. Not like, oh, we just fought them and beat them straight up.
Yeah, because like I said, I feel like they had like coordination. They were trained. Like Layla, like at the beginning when D. Also, side note, you mentioned environment.
Hell, they had a tank.
Yeah, I thought that was D at first. I'm like, upgrade those. He said, "Forget the horse, man. I got the 4-wheel drive, man.
Got the Batmobile, the Bloodmobile."
But the Sandmanners, I was gonna mention that too because you mentioned the locale, Sage, and I was actually really hoping that this was gonna be almost like an RPG where he goes to a lot of different weird locales as he's going to that castle. But again, like you said, it kind of like it didn't get as unique because like the human town. But the sand mantas and then like the little weird castle when he was like flicking the rocks to make the thing.
That was so cool.
That was so dope. I love that.
And then Layla goofy ass rode up in there like Sonya Blade from the Mortal Kombat cartoon. It's combat time. I'm like, man, if you don't get your ass.
That was so. And I guess looking at knowing what when she revealed the fact that her past was ruining her mom turned to. So I guess she was like, he's a vampire. So I'm just coming here and throw him off his game. So maybe that's why she did it. Because at first I'm like, why would you do that? Just ran the guns ablazing. You gonna get shot, woman. All of a sudden she's like, oh, let me turn around and she got shot. Like, but D, let's get back to D. When that little short one that was on the unicycle was like, oh, you all of us can take you, and I'm like, do y'all know who y'all talking to?
No,
it's like D was getting no respect in this. I'm like, you know who it is, right? I'm pretty sure he can kill all of y'all in here. He even said like, oh, y'all might kill me too. I'm like, no, he probably just saying that. He probably gonna kill all of y'all. If y'all come at him all at once, he's going to kill all of y'all. And it was like kind of confident, like, yeah, we can kill you. Like, what?
I mean, the way you see like the negative man pop through and just start shooting lasers at him, and all they could do was just run. I'm like, yeah, I don't think y'all would have had D.
Like the only problem he had was his own self. The hand was, hey, bro, you need to like rest, man. All this, and then he's like, hey, man, I told you Stop walking in the sun. Get some rest. But you don't listen to me. Now you got to bury yourself. That's the only problem he had. But everybody else like, man, oh, it's just D. Like, y'all know who y'all talking to?
Man, when that man was in that dirt and talking to Layla, bro, that was the funniest. Like, it was covered, like it was bed sheets. He was head sticking out dirt, look, just resting, just steady, like, yeah, I'm just taking a nap, you know, just chilling in the dirt, man. You know, it's normal.
Personality didn't change. You still just like, yeah, you know what happened to you? Oh, that's how it happened. Oh yeah, I can't do all of that. You know, I'm a half vampire. I gotta keep moving.
Oh, left hand was like getting at this man all movie, bro.
I just had to make note of that because Sage mentioned it. It was like, man, only person was relevant was kind of D. And it was like disrespect. Like, y'all realize that's D, right? He's a damn peer.
I mean, you know, everybody. It's like that one Caleb City skit. You beat up all the random NPC villains, and like you clearly done ran through like 100 of them, and the 101st one like, but they ain't me though. It's like, what does it matter? Like, you got the same stats, same specs. You can't beat me. It's over with.
But they ain't me though.
You beat the boss, and then like another NPC villain show up, be like, yeah, but the boss ain't me though. What's up? Like, why would you want to smoke? And that's how they treat D. Like, it don't matter who he didn't kill. It don't matter what his legend is, how many hundreds of years he didn't live. They're like, she ain't beat me.
Like, he literally got out of that dude's little genjutsu with the strings. Cut it, slash it. It's like, you cut something you weren't supposed to be able to cut. If somebody does that, do you think you can? All right, whatever. I'm done.
You broke the rules.
Cut that other genjutsu too.
You would think more people by now would know that he's Alucard. It's like, look, he's clearly Dracula's son. Like, he's the OG son.
Well, Terrence, I don't know if you noticed this, but the only time people figure it out is right when they're about to fucking die.
Oh, it's like that that one episode of Superman the animated series when like the one guy, he's getting ready to go into the gas chamber and he's like, wait a minute, Clark Kent was there, but Superman wasn't there. Clark Kent is Superman. Then the switch goes off.
I do remember that. No, I do remember that. He died.
I don't, but I'm looking this up on YouTube after the show.
I'll show it to you later.
Oh my god. But yeah, like nobody realizes it because like as soon as they figure it out, because again, he keep a lot of his powers kind of hidden until like somebody really press him, and then like he let that, like you could see it in this fight. Was he fighting Carmilla, and then like he finally was just like, hey man, I can't take no more. And his eyes kind of changed color because she was trying to like turn him, and he was like, nah, ain't no turning. You can't turn me. And then she was like, who got power? Like, ain't no damn peer got powers like this. How the fuck? You must be. That was it. Same as Magnus. Magnus was doing all that shit. He had the Magneto abilities, knocking people around, and then like D was like, all right, that's enough of that. And then as he figured out who D was, get him out of here. Your legend can't spread. If what's that phrase? Two people can keep a secret if one of them dead. There it is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. We kind of running long, so I'm just asking y'all real quick. Who do y'all prefer, the shapeshifters or the bounty hunters? Devin.
I think I prefer the bounty hunter just because I mean I like the group. I mean, like I said, they kind of humanized me from what you're saying with the novel that they were just horrible people. So I think that's cool that they made them more just like, hey, we bounty hunters. We out here trying to get paid, but we, helping people in the process. They cared about each other. Like every time one of them went out, like they were hurt.
Partially, that's kind of why they died. Because like at the end, bro was like, "Hey man, is that where they going? Yeah, we don't need to go over there." And old dude was like, "But what about our brothers? What we gonna say to them?" I'm like, "You gonna say that you alive? You better go take your ass around, turn around."
What did Layla say? She said we'll be all right. Something. I'm like, y'all finna get messed up, but y'all need to listen to the Grove, man. These man, he can make a spectral image of himself. I think y'all should listen to the man when he talking about some spooky stuff about to go on. And that's exactly what happened. They run up in there, old dude see Holt, Note, and Kyle. Oh man, y'all back. You're like, come on, bro. You
my brothers.
Come on, man.
Come back to life. It's over with for y'all. And then he got turned into a vampire. And then,
So it's just like, I like that group. They were down for the mission, man. They were down for the cause. Like I said, Layla, she was a little like say it's a Sonya Blade out there with the on their little unibike.
Yeah.
Like, but I think it's cool that maybe she kind of found a little piece like with D. She's like, okay, he's a vampire, but he ain't out here just trying, he's actually killing, he's actually doing us a favor, and I guess, she was like, well, you saved my life too. And then, she's like, well, let's make us a promise. If, blah, 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 if you die, we'll be there. And at the end, I was crazy. I'm like, wait a minute. She said, grandma. And he was like, yeah, I just, keeping a promise. I'm like, whoa, so this is like, this some years done passed.
Keem had the same problem because we was watching and Keem was like, oh, this is like a flashback. And I was like, nah, this is a flash forward. And then like Grandma Layla, he was like, oh, It's been years.
Yeah. I was like, because I'm like, who are they burying? I thought it was maybe, I really didn't even know who was burying. I'm like, I guess this is a random funeral. Like, oh, no,
I thought they were burying Charlotte. Well, no, I mean, she was off in space, but like,
I thought
representation
that
of her funeral,
Right.
That would have made sense.
Yeah. That's right.
I will say for Layla, clearly, like, she did change, like, the whole experience changed her because, like, she kind of had this whole, the reason why they had that whole thing of like flowers was like she thought that she was just gonna die and be buried in like some random grave and nobody was gonna put flowers on her grave, nobody was gonna remember her, and clearly that's not what happened. By the time she died, there were like plenty of people there, and that's why D didn't even like put the flower on because he was like, you clearly got other people for you. So
I think that now I will say I do think the Shapeshifter group was kind of cool. Am I the only person that thought that they kind of felt like they could be like some characters or villains off of Yu Yu Hakusho? Like I could see them being the Dark Tournament or something.
Them X-Men.
More like the well, they're more like the Imperfects or something like that. But that's what they're more. I got to go with the Bounty Hunter group. And like I said, when I saw the vehicle, I thought it was D. I'm like, who the heck are these guys? Like, what's going on? They busting up in there, shooting people. I'm like, oh, this is a new group. And they was like, yeah, we trying to go get that money. So, hey, I can respect that.
Okay. Terrence, what do you fall? Which is the best group, the Shapeshifters or the Bounty Hunters?
I'll say, well, first of all, I'll just say by process of elimination, it has to be the Bounty Hunters because, was it the Barbarois was the Shapeshifters' names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, just real quick. When they ran into the Shadow guy, which pretty much almost feels like he just came over from Ninja Scroll, but when they ran into him, he took one of their guys out. So it was like that was a point for the Barbarois. Then came around, they killed him off. So it was like, all right, point for the Bounty Hunters. And then you have this weird in between, which this actually threw me for a loop, and I actually had to rewind it because I was confused at first. I thought that D killed the woman. But then come to find out, it was just a random lightning strike.
Now that you say the Ninja Scroll dude did it, it's just like that in Ninja Scroll when the dude when the guy basically won, and then she was like, "No, I'm gonna kill that dude just because I'm mad about it." It's like, why would you do that? Like,
exactly,
this makes no sense. And this made no sense. Like a lightning bolt just happened to hit her.
Yeah, Layla just so happened to survive that, and honestly, she probably shouldn't have because, like, she was way up there when she got picked up. And when the tree got split in two with the lightning, she just fell down and just treated it like it was normal. I was like, wait a minute, didn't you fall from, like, a great height? Like, what? But anyway, don't think too much about something like that. But, yeah, technically, the female member of the Barbarois, she just got killed by circumstance. She didn't get killed by anybody. She got killed by the weather.
They say the reason the lightning hit her was because, what's her name? She threw the knife.
The knife and it conducted. Which it's still bullshit. But yeah,
I thought I was like, this man cast Thunder Gun. That's what I like.
Like I said, I thought D was the one who cut the tree in half, but then he was still in the dirt. So I'm like, wait, did I miss something? So I literally rewound it. And I was like, no, she just got killed by lightning. I'm like, that's so. Anyway, so that's two for the Bounty Hunters, and then you get to the Wolfman. He takes out one of their own, so that's their 2-2, and then D just takes out the Wolfman just easily. So yeah, all of them are just gone, and at least the Bounty Hunters, they or at least had two people. No, they had Grove. They had
3.
They had 3 left, and the Barbarois, I mean, they were all KO'd at that point. So I'll give it to the bounty hunters just because they outlived them. So yeah,
Grove died there at that point, didn't he? Didn't Grove die when he did that final stand?
Grove died in the castle, but by that time, like all the bodyguards was dead.
Yeah, because D had killed the werewolf. That was my only thing with the Barbarois is like I thought their powers were really cool, but we didn't really get to see the Shadow guy. We got to see more from him than really anyone else. It's kind of like they started to decline in terms of how much you got to see of them. You saw them, saw the most of the Shadow Man. You saw the next most of the Elemental Woman, and then you saw the least of the werewolf, and it's like, well, that's disappointing. But yeah, I'll give it to the bounty hunters.
Will, where do you stand? Who do you think? Well, what's your favorite / best group, shapeshifters or the bounty hunters?
I mean, truthfully, both groups are like pretty cool because I really did end up liking like the Barbarois, the bodyguards, Bengay, Caroline, and Mashira. I had to learn their names afterwards because I was like, I don't think their names ever got mentioned. So I was like, let me look them up real quick so I know who I'm talking about. But I mean, truthfully, bounty hunters did come to play, and they played and stumbled onto some success and actually won some. I won't lie, because they got Bengay out of there real quick. That Shadow guy, they got him out of there real fast. Once they was like, pay attention to the shadows. As soon as he hopped out, got him out of there. I was like, good on y'all. Y'all can prepare this time.
Move on him too, huh?
Yeah, they did.
Because they shot him, and he was like, "Oh, I got to get out of here." And old boy was like, "Nah, buddy." Sliced him. Was like, "Yep, that's it for you."
Sliced him, got him out of there. But I do think out of all of the bodyguards, though, like I said, I'm still sticking with the bounty hunters. But out of all the bodyguards, I think Caroline was the coolest, simply for all the elemental stuff she did, from being under under the tank. Like, oh, maybe she just got caught under the wheels. They just like, yeah, we killed her. She was just like, I'm gonna go ahead and start metal bending real quick, and I'm gonna show y'all that y'all ain't got rid of me.
That was crazy.
That was weird because it's like you missed all of them.
I was tearing my thought exactly. I'm like, she should have killed everybody in there.
You could at least kill off somebody. She missed all of them.
You could have at least killed Grove. That man could not move.
Can't even move.
And I was in the bed.
Did she hit anybody? I don't think she hit
already.
She hit
nobody.
She hit Kyle. She hit what's his name? Yeah, she hit Kyle.
Oh,
he was outside the window. He was hanging outside the window, and the last one came through and cut him off on his shoulder, I think.
Actually, that was just probably the guy.
He managed to nick him.
That was guy like, you a trash bounty hunter. You can kill him. Lightning strike. You missed all of them. You can kill nobody.
Not a damn person. You a bum.
But yeah, bounty hunters it is. They did their thing.
What's up, Terrence?
Real quick, one thing I will say about the bounty hunters that I would dock some points from is they played with their food when it came to Meisner Link.
And that's why Kyle did right now.
Exactly.
They should just, as soon as he walked out and he was like clearly weak, they should have just shot him and that would have been it. But no, they were like, yeah, you can keep on trying to come forward. Yeah.
So I thought about that, and that's probably a holdover from like the novel where they were like these sadistic, like evil fucking monster of people that just were horrible. And so like that side of them was just shown in that scene where they just couldn't just finish the mission and move on, because that would have been the time to get rid of him. Like right then, like
he totally was literally their food on that one.
He was on fire, couldn't move. The other bodyguards, y'all thought he was out of action. All y'all really had to do was kill the dude and be like, all right, come on, chick. I don't care nothing about whether you liked him, didn't like him, whatever. Let's go. Yeah. And then they could have been gone by the time Mashira got up there, and that would have been the end of it. But nope. They just couldn't do it, and that's why Kyle died. So I ain't feel bad for Kyle. He wasn't cool.
Definitely didn't feel bad for him. He stood up there and just held him up, gave that man time to thermal find the bombs on the bridge.
He gave time to like actually take the bombs and throw them away. So
that was like the look on his face.
You're solid.
He was like, "Get the bombs." He's like, "Hold up, what the?" Yo, that was one of those moments when you got the Looney Tune coyote eyes coming out your head. He was like, "What? Hold on now."
And somebody didn't die.
I ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah. Rakeem, what about you, man? Which one?
Real talk, they're kind of even for me. I didn't really like one particular group over the other that much. But if it was edged, I would say I actually like the Barbarois a little more. I'm a sucker for like elemental powers and like the Shadow dude. Shikamaru is my favorite Naruto character of all time, precisely because his intelligence and his shadow powers. So I got a soft spot for shadow powers. I always like shadow powers. The elemental girl was actually really cool. I called her Fire. She like Fire from was it DC Comics with the all green aesthetic.
Yeah,
she had a cool design. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And she has this kind of blending in with the elements she's touching or whatever. It's kind of like, you know, Darwin-esque power, so to speak. And just like Darwin, she got hold.
Yeah, she did.
Like, look, y'all will never figure out a way to beat her, and D is gonna have to kill everybody else. So I tell you what, lightning bolt. There you go.
There you go. Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. Yeah, I kind of like that group. I really hated the werewolf dude died so fast. It seemed like he was very intelligent. Like they show how he was able to use heat, like this heat vision to kind of see where the bombs were at, relocated them, and then came back. Like, okay, that's a really cool tactical type of, you know, vibe to this character. And D was like, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't fuck with none of that. No, you ain't getting no development. This ain't gonna be interesting. No, this is my show. Vampire Hunter D. My name is on the card. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Get
my name is in the script.
Out.
This show is not about werewolves. Get out of here, boy.
It ain't.
This is not Werewolf by Night, baby boy.
It's not Underworld.
You are not Beast from the X-Men. Calm your ass down. But yeah, I actually kind of like that villain group. I wish they had been fleshed out a little bit more. But I did enjoy the Bounty Hunters too. But I don't know, there were parts of the Bounty Hunters that felt kind of incompetent, like Sage said, and they kind of led to their own demise in a lot of ways. So I kind of like the evil bounty, the evil version of the bounty hunters to a degree with the supernatural part. I like supernatural stuff, and I like the fact that it wasn't kind of explained. And also, since it's the same guy who did Ninja Scroll, I have noticed he loves to make deaths very abrupt. He does not like to make drawn out.
We're not dragging this
stuff.
out, buddy.
Man, you die quick. Once you figure the trick out with those characters, he take them out immediately. So that's their calling card. But yeah, I like that little villain group, little elementalists and transforming people. They were cool.
The very reason Rakeem talked about is the very reason why I can't rock with the bounty hunters, because they just was so sometimes they was just so needlessly incompetent. Layla just riding up there with no plan at all. Like, you see Vampire Hunter D, he was very clearly doing something that was like, it looked nonchalant, but it was like, whatever you doing, it's probably damn near impossible for a regular person to do. And he was still just like, and she was like, no, I'm gonna ride up in there. It's combat time. I said, look, you about to die. And sure enough, she would have died if D hadn't come over there and saved her. So she was dumb. The big dude, he never really got a chance. He died almost instantly.
Nope, didn't get a chance at all, bro.
He didn't know how the powers work, nothing. You know, he just got stabbed in the shadow, and it was like, bro, that's it. And it was like, yeah, that's it, buddy.
It's the shadows.
Yeah, all he got to do is give it. He gave his homeboys a hint, so I give him points for that.
Yeah.
But like Kyle, dumbass, all he had to do was just kill Meyer Lincoln, and he would have been able to like, all right, mission accomplished. Gonna go ahead and take this girl back and get this exactly. And I'm sure the dad would have been all too happy to pay him the money, because like he negotiated that $20 million with D.
He
negotiate that with him. Yeah. So he would have just been like, all right, I saved myself $10 million and I got my daughter back. Get the fuck out of here. So like he would have been all too happy to take that money. So like Kyle was dumb. What was the last dude? Borgoff? I think he was the last
Borgoff.
dude. Yeah,
he was the last one. I
mean, I can't. He was more consumed by like vengeance.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't give it up because Grove was like, all right, man, we done lost enough. Like, and this place is hella dangerous. We need to just leave. Even Kyle was like, look, man, if they heading for where I think they're heading, we don't need to be messing with them no more. Like, even vampires don't want to go over there. We need to just leave this alone. And like Borgoff was like, no, I want the money. And then after Kyle died, and now I'm mad. I want both. And so like I don't fault him, but he is kind of dumb and he caused his own death, so I don't feel sorry for him. Right. But yeah, like, and then like Grove, I don't really have an opinion on, because he was like helpless for most of the movie. He just kind of showed up like a Final Fantasy summon. So you know, it's oh shit, I did the timer. I summoned him. Like, all right, I guess. You know, other than that, like I just didn't vibe with them, as opposed to like, you know, the shapeshifters. They had this cool lore behind them. They had these cool powers, and like really, the only reason they didn't win outright was because of bad luck with the lightning bolt. Like the only dude that died, like the shadow dude, died legit. They figured out the trick to him, and then they was like, bet, you know, we not that incompetent, and then they just took him out. Cool. But like the elemental chick, she had no business dying. She died because of bad luck. The werewolf, he died clearly because like he ran into D. And that's about the same. You got about the same chance of that as you do getting hit by that lightning bolt. So I feel sorry for both of them because I'm like, y'all wasn't supposed to die like that. So I'm gonna say that I leaned in the favor of the shapeshifters, man. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that about wraps this week's episode up. If you liked it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor, hit that subscription button on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok, tell your nerdy ass friends and family about us, and do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.